The doors of a luxurious restaurant opened, and Morgan Freeman, in his simple clothes, drew everyone's gaze. But no one knew this humble man was about to change everything in that restaurant forever. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. If you enjoy inspiring stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. Remember, true heroism often happens in silence. In the heart of the city, where shimmering lights and whispers rose, there was the Zenith. This was not just a restaurant, it was a status symbol, a sanctuary of privilege. Every time its doors opened, they welcomed not only the carefully selected, but also those who sought to escape the world's noise. That night, these doors opened for an unusual guest. The man who entered in his simple, unpretentious clothes created a sharp contrast with the glittering chandeliers and polished marble floors surrounding him. This was Morgan Freeman, renowned globally, yet here he seemed almost invisible to the discerning eyes of the patrons. In that crowded and dazzling hall, every step was a statement of attention. People were filled with the whispers of diamonds and designer clothes. Morgan Freeman, amidst all this grandeur, stood in an old but clean jacket, comfortable trousers, and slightly worn shoes. His posture was calm, his eyes observing the surrounding chaos with serene curiosity. Even though glances gathered on him, it didn't seem to bother him. A hostess moved elegantly towards him, but beneath her professional smile lay a subtle hesitation. Her eyes scanned every crease, every fabric texture, as if X-raying him. In the hostess's mind, a definite judgment had already formed. These clothes did not suit the sophisticated ambiance of the Zenith. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Zenith. Did you have a reservation?" the hostess asked with a polite yet questioning expression. Morgan Freeman replied in a calm and gentle voice, "Good evening. No, unfortunately, but I would like a table for one, if possible." A brief surprise appeared on the hostess's face. Her eyes quickly moved over Morgan Freeman, as if categorizing him mentally. It was unusual for a casually dressed customer at a restaurant of this level to arrive without a reservation. That momentary pause hung in the air like a subtle disdain. This situation clearly drew the invisible line between status and class in the hostess's mind. For her, Morgan Freeman was a stranger who had come to the wrong place. The hostess hesitantly looked at her computer, then looked down at Morgan Freeman. "I see. Sir, this is the Zenith. It's quite an exclusive establishment, and our clientele typically adheres to certain standards. Are you sure you wish to dine here? Perhaps you'd prefer somewhere more casual. There are also more affordable places outside with fewer expectations." With every word, the hostess, though trying to maintain her politeness, was attempting to exclude Morgan Freeman. Her arrogant demeanor began to spread as whispers in the hall. Some customers, though they didn't want to witness this, looked at the pair with curiosity. Morgan Freeman's expression remained unchanged, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. His eyes held a quiet wisdom. For him, this was just a question, not a judgment. True wisdom sometimes requires remaining silent, even in the face of blatant provocation. "I'm sure, thank you, this place is perfectly suitable for me. Rest assured, I have no expectations." The hostess, with a barely noticeable sigh, led him to the farthest back part of the dining room, near the kitchen door, usually the last tables to fill, or those used by staff. This was a forgotten corner, far from the restaurant's glittering facade. Pointing to the table, she placed the menu down with a slightly harder thud than normal, her voice tinged with clear mockery. "Here is your table. If you need anything, let me know. But only if it's really necessary, okay? We are very busy, and our guests here have quite high expectations." Morgan Freeman, with a slight smile on his face, thanked the hostess. He chose to ignore the insinuation in her demeanor. Because, you see, true wisdom sometimes requires remaining silent even in the face of blatant provocation. As the hostess walked away, she muttered softly, loud enough for a nearby couple to hear, as if she intended for everyone listening to hear, "I bet he'll run as soon as he opens the menu. He doesn't belong here anyway. These types always come just to show off." Shortly after the hostess left, a young waiter approached their table. This waiter, named Victor, was even more arrogant than the hostess. He typically handled VIP tables, priding himself on serving high-status customers. He saw himself as part of the restaurant's elite spirit, almost a walking brand. Seeing a customer like Morgan Freeman at the farthest table, a clear disdain appeared on his face. He eyed him from head to toe, then pretended to scribble something in his notepad. "Your order, sir." Or, "Have you decided? I suppose some dishes might exceed your budget. Perhaps you'd like a more affordable recommendation." Pretending to be busy. Whenever Morgan Freeman glanced his way, he averted his eyes and quickened his steps, as if he was too occupied to attend to him. After a long wait, Victor returned to Morgan Freeman's table. His face still held that mocking expression. Before bringing the main course, he wanted to test him again. Perhaps this time he could get Morgan Freeman to talk. "Sir, are you still here? I see you're patient. Are you enjoying our dishes or just the atmosphere? I suppose such a long wait might be too much for some," Victor said in a condescending voice, leaning slightly. Morgan Freeman slowly put his fork down on his plate and looked directly into Victor's eyes. This time, there was a seriousness in his eyes that hadn't been noticed before, like a sword. Victor felt slightly uneasy under this determined gaze. "I'm enjoying both the meal and the atmosphere. Both are beyond my expectations. And yes, patience is often the greatest virtue," Morgan Freeman said. The mocking smile on Victor's face faded a little. It seemed impossible to faze this man. Other customers, having slowed their conversations, now fixed their eyes on the pair. The tension in the air was palpable. Some cast disapproving glances at Victor, while others curiously waited to see what would happen next. Just then, the restaurant manager, Mr. Thompson, entered with impeccable posture and an authoritative air. He immediately sensed the tension in the room. He had an experienced eye that could perceive every whisper, every glance in the restaurant. When his eyes landed on Morgan Freeman's table, his expressions suddenly changed. His professional seriousness gave way to surprise and then alarm. He quickly advanced towards the table, completely ignoring Victor as if he wasn't there. "Mr. Freeman, I was unaware you were here. Welcome, sir. What an honor. Please, how may I assist you? I know we should have been informed of your visit," Mr. Thompson said, his voice filled with respect, breathless with panic. Victor's face turned white. The blood seemed to drain from him. His eyes darted in shock between the manager and Morgan Freeman. Thoughts flashed through his mind. "Mr. Freeman? He knows him? What is happening here? Is this the person I think it is?" He couldn't believe it. Morgan Freeman, in a calm yet commanding tone, fixed his eyes into the manager. "Mr. Thompson, thank you. Everything is fine. I just want to have a brief conversation with your team, if that's not a problem, especially with this young man." The manager's expression grew even more serious with concern. He understood that something was wrong. Seeing Victor's pale face and Morgan Freeman's calm but determined gaze, he grasped the situation. "Victor, what is happening here? How did you treat this customer? What gives you the right?" Mr. Thompson said, giving Victor a stern and warning look. Victor stammered, his voice trembling. I didn't know. I thought his attire. It didn't seem to fit the restaurant." Mr. Thompson's voice was low but firm, emphasizing every word. "What did you think, Victor, that this customer, who happens to be one of the owners of this restaurant, didn't deserve the same respect as everyone else? What right do you have to judge someone by their clothes? This is a restaurant, not a fashion show." The manager's words drained the last bit of color from Victor's face. His eyes were wide open in shock. The entire restaurant fell silent, stunned by what they had heard. Whispers of "the owner" spread through the air. Customers alternated between shock and shame. Morgan Freeman finally broke the silence. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that filled the entire room, every word like a slap. "There was no need for me to state who I am. In fact, who I am doesn't even matter. Everyone who walks through these doors, regardless of how they dress or where they come from, should be treated with respect. For a person's worth is not measured by the fabric they wear or the money in their wallet. Humanity transcends all prejudice."
These words resonated through the hall. Many customers nodded in agreement, some casting angry glances at Victor. The elderly couple looked at each other with pride, as if to say, "We knew it." Victor, meanwhile, was frozen, his expression of disdain replaced by deep shame. He had disgraced himself, not only in front of Morgan Freeman, but in front of the entire restaurant. His legs trembled. "Victor, I expect a detailed explanation of your behavior after your shift, and that explanation must be convincing enough to rectify your attitude this evening. For now, step away from this table and leave. I am taking over from here. We must provide service worthy of our customers," Mr. Thompson said. Victor wanted to protest, but the manager's resolute gaze silenced him. Suddenly, he turned and quickly walked away, avoiding the stares of the patrons, his steps faltering as if he had taken a heavy blow from the ground. Morgan Freeman took a deep breath and stood up. His gaze encompassed everyone in the room. His voice was imbued with authority, yet still filled with profound wisdom. The whispers in the room ceased instantly. Everyone's attention entirely focused on him. His presence, as it were, cleared the air. This restaurant was founded on the idea that everyone should feel welcome, no matter how they dress or where they come from. This place should be a meeting point, not a judgment ground. Unfortunately, that was not the case today. But I believe we can learn from this. True success is not in what we possess, but in how we treat others. Humanity should always be greater than our prejudices. These words resonated through the hall. Many customers nodded in agreement, some looking down with shame in their eyes, perhaps questioning themselves. The manager, both embarrassed and admiring of how Morgan Freeman handled the situation. This was a lesson for him, too. Morgan Freeman turned to the manager, a warm expression on his face. "After the dining room closes, I would like to meet with the entire team. There are important things we need to discuss. I am sure that all of us can draw many lessons from what happened this evening." "Of course, Mr. Freeman. I'll arrange it immediately. I apologize again for this evening's mishap. This situation will not happen again. I promise." Morgan Freeman returned to a seat, and the restaurant slowly began to return to normal. But customers continued to whisper about what they had just witnessed. That moment had been a turning point for the Zenith, not just for a restaurant, but a change in the mindset of everyone present had begun. As the night wore on, the glow of the Zenith dimmed. Customers slowly dispersed, and a profound silence settled in the empty dining room. Chairs were pushed into tables, and as the lights dimmed, the day's fatigue and tension hung in the air. The staff gathered as per the manager's instructions. All were tense from the day's events, especially Victor and Ashley. Morgan Freeman stood before them, his presence filling the entire space. His gaze swept over each staff member, radiating both a deep calm and unwavering resolve. His voice, carrying the weight of every word, filled the room. "We all make mistakes. This is part of being human. But what truly matters is what we do after those mistakes. Today we experienced a problem far beyond a simple service mishap. We witnessed the devastating impact of snap judgments, hidden biases, and a lack of empathy. We saw firsthand how a moment of thoughtlessness can make someone feel. But I want you to understand this. This is not a condemnation. It's an opportunity, a lesson that must never be repeated." Morgan Freeman paused, allowing his words to settle. His gaze lingered on Ashley, the hostess, and Victor, who sat at the back, their eyes filled with tears and shame. Their faces showed deep remorse, both reluctant to look up.
Ashley and Victor, I know what happened today was a mistake, a big mistake, and mistakes can only be corrected if there is sincere effort and a willingness to learn. This restaurant, for me, is more than just a business. This place should be somewhere everyone feels valued. I ask you to view what happened this evening not just as a crisis, but as an opportunity for personal growth. What you choose to do next will determine not only your careers, but also who you are.
Turning to the rest of the team, Morgan Freeman softened his voice, but retained its purpose. In the world we live in, it's too easy to judge people based on what we see on the surface: their clothes, their appearance, the cars they drive, or where they live. The outer shell can sometimes blind us. But I want to ask you something. What happens when you choose to treat someone with kindness? What happens when you decide to look beyond appearances and value another person simply because they are human, regardless of what they possess or wear? Morgan Freeman put his hands in his pockets, speaking in a more reflective tone. We all carry struggles that no one else can see. The person with tired eyes might have stayed up all night caring for a loved one. The one who seems out of place might be having the worst day of their life. The one who doesn't dress as expected might have achieved more than you could ever imagine, perhaps even enough to buy your entire restaurant. Remember that life is a complex tapestry, and every thread has its own story. The kindness we choose to extend, especially to those we deem undeserving, might just be the gesture that changes everything. A small smile, a simple "How can I help?" can change someone's entire day. This is true service. Ashley, the hostess, finally lifted her head, wiping away her tears. Her voice was quiet but laden with remorse. I had never thought about it that way before, sir. I am so sorry. I was so focused on the restaurant's image, on maintaining standards, that I forgot what truly matters. I forgot that every person has value, no matter who they are or what they look like. I won't make this mistake again. I promise, Mr. Freeman, I will change. Victor also finally lifted his head, his voice barely audible. I am also very sorry, sir. My behavior was unforgivable. I will never treat anyone like that again. Morgan Freeman nodded, offering them a small, encouraging smile. There was no anger or malice in his eyes, only a deep understanding and a glimmer of hope. That promise is a promise to yourself, Ashley. And Victor, that promise is a promise to yourself, not to me. True change comes from within. And if you need help along the way, I will always be here, because this restaurant is not just a workplace, it's a family, Morgan Freeman said. Ashley and Victor nodded vigorously, a mixture of relief and determination washing over their faces. That night, they were leaving not only with the fear of losing their jobs, but also with a profound lesson deeply felt in their souls. Remember, my friends, kindness is not about grand gestures. It's about the small choices we make every day. A smile, a kind word, patient listening. These may seem small, but they are the seeds that can change the world. It's about treating everyone we encounter as if they matter, because they do. And that is what defines the character of a place and of a person. This place should not just be somewhere to eat, but also a place where humanity is celebrated. Manager Thompson, apparently quite touched, stepped forward. "Ah, Mr. Freeman, your message was clear. We will work to ensure that the zenith reflects exactly what you envisioned. Thank you for reminding us of that. This has been an awakening for all of us." Morgan Freeman simply nodded, stepping out of the restaurant with a serene smile. The streets of Beverly Hills sparkled under the city lights, seeming brighter than ever. He paused briefly on the sidewalk, gazing at the Zenith's entrance. His faint smile returned as he reflected on what had transpired that evening. This was not just about a restaurant or a mistreated customer. It was about the importance of creating spaces where people feel seen, heard, and valued. And Morgan Freeman knew that even in the most challenging situations, there was an opportunity to inspire and transform. His presence had left not just a momentary ripple, but a lasting wind of change. As he walked down the illuminated streets, Morgan Freeman thought about what he had said, but also about the message he hoped others would take from that night. If he could leave everyone who heard the story with one thought, it would be this: in a world where you can be anything, choose to be kind. True strength lies not in judgment, but in acceptance. Each of us can be a silent hero in our own lives. We just need to pay attention, try to understand, and reach out instead of judging. And most importantly, remember that we shape not only the world around us, but also who we are as human beings through the small choices we make every day. If this story touched your heart, we invite you to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience. Click the screen to keep the warmth alive and discover more. Remember, the silent hero is always among us.